television network, TSPN. And now, TSPN News with Tom Slivick. Comprehensive news because in today's world, you need more than just sound bites. TSPN, streaming on the World Wide Web, and now on demand at tspntv.com. I'm Tom Slivick. Welcome to TSPN's News for today. And tomorrow being Tuesday with a Board of Supervisors report, we have with us in the House Supervisor Richard Forster.
Hi, Tom.
You have fun at the fair?
Yep. How are you doing today?
Good, good. And we'll get back to the agenda. We'll take a break and we'll be right back, so stay tuned. You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN. Java Drive, locally owned and operated by John and Polly Louie since 1997, are now serving fresh roasted, organic, Peerless coffee and tea. The Peerless Coffee Company, a family-owned Bay Area, third-generation roasting company, offers organic, shade-grown, and fair trade coffees, produced in an environmentally responsible fashion. From our families to yours, it's Java Drive for fresh roasting, fresh ground, organic Peerless coffee, espresso, cappuccino, and teas, along with smoothies, shakes, iced drinks, soft serve ice cream, and more. Next to John's Pit Stop in Martell.
State Farm.
Hi everyone, and welcome back. Well, Richard Forster, you were out at the fair. I was out at the fair. Tell us, what do you think? How did the fair go this year?
I think it went pretty well. It was warm, but you know what? It usually is warm in July.
Right.
So some people aren't going to go because of that. What's going to impact the fair, I think, is the sand fire and the smoke. I woke up very early most days, and you couldn't even see the trees in the distance for a couple hours. So it took a while for it to dissipate, but all of the warnings were, if you're young, if you're old, stay at home. So that's going to impact the fair. There's going to be a certain amount of people that have asthma or other issues that they can't be out in that kind of environment.
You know,
I saw you there.
Okay,
go ahead.
I saw you there Sunday, and you know, I got there early Sunday to do the pre-auction brunch, and when we got there, Plymouth itself was very, very smoky.
Right.
And but when we came out and a little bit into the fair, I guess the atmospherics changed, and you didn't have the smoke
Very
and all
nice.
that around. But there weren't a lot of people at that time.
Right. I'll give you one more update on the auction. They did have heifers that sold this year, bred heifers, that added $40,000 to the total. Oh. Even discounting that, the net or the gross amount that they have is right around $540,000 plus dollars, which is about $150,000 more than they've ever had before. So it was a phenomenal auction.
Wow,
the kids did very well. All the animals were supported. There was not a pig that sold for less than $5 a pound. So it was a great auction, and thanks to all the people and the businesses that came in.
And I know your group, I owned Guys and Gals. They helped. I was talking to Sith Saver with, Gen 2, and, those cars, the two cars that were in the structure derby, they raised over $40,000 to help lift the floor and buy animals.
Right.
So
and the ACDS group, too.
Right,
so.
right.
But all the local businesses came in, and my dentist I went to this morning, if I'm talking a little funny, I had a little dental work, but Tom Eaton and I own, he was there bidding and bought 2 animals, so that's great.
Okay.
That's what it's all about.
Real glad to hear that, and it was a great fair.
Yep, it was.
And although it was hot, I have to say there was hardly any humidity until maybe Sunday.
Yeah, it wasn't badly. Yesterday was really nice compared to Saturday. So Saturday was hot. First up on our meeting tomorrow, I got word from Under Sheriff Wagner. We're going to have an update on the sand fire. They're having an incident update in El Dorado County today at 2 o'clock. We'll get ours tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. They'll do it under Public Matters and just give an update where we're at.
Okay, well, I heard from on the radio that people east on River Pines, if you're east of that, they're letting the people back home, and the other people, they're determining that as it goes, see how safe it is. Some of the times embers or something can flare back up, and it can
I got to tell you, our Assemblyman, Frank Bigelow, he texted me on Thursday night, asked me for an update, so he's been staying on top of this. The other thing that the governor and the legislators need to see is there's cooperation. The major point for people to be sent to and evacuated to is up at the El Dorado County Fairgrounds. Well, Amador County Fair got a phone call and said, can you take 7 horses, which Amador County Fair and the Board of Directors approved that. That's the purpose for fairgrounds. It's not just to have a fair. It also serves as evacuation centers for fires, floods, and the like. So.
Okay, as long as we're talking a little bit about the fire, too, I wanted to bring some up. Sarah, if you have that picture of that tanker that was... that was good. That tanker was on scene early. I think it had maybe Saturday off. It was back working Sunday. We can see the retardant out of that. And my understanding, and I know I talked to you just a little bit, you're not completely sure, and I'm not completely sure, but someone needs to talk to CDF and the people that actually would do that to find out, because I had heard that if the McCullough River goes wild and scenic, this tanker would not be able to make that drop with at least with the red retardant, maybe water. I mean, what do you know of like the fire way you can respond in a wild and scenic?
I think that's an answer for CAL FIRE to answer whether the retardant can be dropped. My understanding is you can't take any mechanized equipment in, so no dozers. I don't know if that includes chainsaws. I think it does under wild and scenic, but I'm not an expert in that area, and I'll leave it up to the experts to
Okay,
answer
I know
that.
when it was brought up, no one that was for the wild and scenic said, you're right on that.
Well, let's ask that question.
I think it's
clarified.
very important because we, as you know, we get a lot of fires in the canyon areas,
Right.
especially the McCullough. There's,
Right.
that's for some reason there was fires happen there, and not to have the ability to put them out. I'm telling you, that's scary because
Right.
I'm just on the other. I'm not far from the McCullough River.
Right. Well, we're not going to put
All
out
right.
fires tomorrow, but we'll get a report on
Okay.
the sand fire. We'll go into our meeting and talk with the Amador County Chamber of Commerce. We have a report in our packet from Sharon Lundgren, who's the treasurer for the chamber. It gives an update on where the $25,000 from transient occupancy tax would be used. Obviously, with the Chamber of Commerce, it's a business promotion organization, so they're going to use it for that purpose primarily. They talk about possibly expanding the personnel at their Main Street office in Jackson and ramping that up, at what they call the Visitors Bureau.
Right.
So that's perfect use for it. I mean, we consider the Chamber to be a partner with us in our county to help the businesses and get them off the ground and support them in all their activities, and they do a great job.
My understanding too, Richard, is that the chamber handles more or less the businesses that are here. That's kind of the thing, and then we have the
Amador Council on Tourism.
Council on Tourism, that is basically the reach out of county area. Is that still
I think they have
concept?
I think they have a cooperative
Okay.
agreement worked out now, so that's the primary structure. Chamber should be concentrating on not just the businesses that are here, but helping people that want to bring a business into the county.
Right.
So they're
And the
giving
other-
that support.
And the other is trying to bring people in for tourism dollars.
Right.
Is that right?
But between the ACT and the Chamber and the Business Council, I think there's a good working relationship now, thanks to a lot of the members involved. Jim Collette with the Business Council, but Mark Borchin, of course, Tom Blackman with the Chamber have done a phenomenal job. Sharon Lundgren is their treasurer. That gives them a lot of credibility to have those kind of individuals involved.
Okay.
So,
what do we have?
Besides that, we go and this involves river pines, and there's a request for, I guess it's up to the Board of Supervisors to appoint people on the River Pines Public Utility District Board of Directors. So in our packet, I believe there's 3 people that have put in applications to be on that board. I think there's 2 positions available. So the board will make that call tomorrow.
What is the responsibility for those people?
Well, like any board, it doesn't pay a lot, so they should be responsible for that public utility district, including the finances, including the activities, getting grants approved, and things like that. So it's sometimes it's a thankless job. I know there's a little bit of controversy there, but there's controversy on every board. So with the people, Ken Granger is one of the people that's put in an application, Jeffrey Spiva, Rodney Peterson, so there's 4, and Deborah Gedgate. So 4 people have put in for the 2 positions available.
All right.
Next up, we have discussion, and this came back, I missed the meeting in July because I was at the National Association of Counties, but this started on the July 15th meeting, and it's actually a discussion through our Public Works Department and Aaron Bruce-Torrey, our Community Development Director, looking at fee deferrals, the agreements that are necessary. Some people come in and they have impact fees and they can't afford the whole load. So this will have discussion on deferment of the fees. What kind of agreements can you put together? It'll require a promissory note, a deed of trust, and a resolution to approve all that.
Okay, we're going to come back after this break. We'll talk possibly more about that topic when we get back. So stay with us right here on TSPN. You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN. And we're back. And Richard Forster, we were talking a little bit more. So that's kind of for a deferred payment program?
Yeah, and the one thing that people have to demonstrate is hardship.
Okay.
So when they come in and apply for this, they have to discuss it with the board, and the board has to look at what is their hardship. It's difficult in some of these situations. Is hardship just not having the money, is saving the money, or is there something else going on that creates a hardship? So I think that's what the discussion will center on tomorrow, is what really creates a hardship. Because is it that you're building a house and you didn't think it was going to cost that much, so you want a deferral on some of the fees that are charged, the impact fees?
How long about is the deferral spaced out? What are they asking for? How long of a time period?
I don't know for sure, Tom. We did this back in 2010 for a gentleman, and I think in this case, his payment was $350 per month. So I'm thinking that it's probably going to take about 5 years to make the payments, if you're deferring all of the impact fees. So that hardship to me is the big one. How do you define that so that not everyone is coming in asking for a deferral?
So is this done case by case, and now it's being try to look at it as if it would be a policy?
Right. It is done case by case, and the important thing is to note that they do have to record this on their deed of trust. They have a promissory note. My question tomorrow is going to be what happens if they default on the property, if they go into bankruptcy, what happens to the fees then? So we'll discuss all of that.
Okay, because of course, government costs money. You're in one of the driver's seats, so you realize that. Go ahead, Richard. What do we have next?
We have the Rabbit Creek Causeway Phase 2. It's a very expensive project. It is budgeted in Public Works now. Fortunately for us, East Bay Mud has agreed to cover some of the cost on this. They beat us in court in a lawsuit. They felt that we were responsible. We felt it was a pretty easy issue that East Bay Mud is responsible. Actually, they're taking all the water out of Comanche, and the judge ruled against Amador County. So anyway, thank you to East Bay Mud for working with us on this. $725,000 is what was budgeted for this project. The 2 bids that came in are $1.655 million and $1.937 million, and we don't have that money. So we have to do something different. Aaron Bruce-Torrey is proposing that we reject the bids, go back out for bid, but create a different project so that they can open cut and do the project. He feels we'll get many more bidders by doing an open cut type of a project. He feels we'll be able to stay within our budget at that point. The problem is that Comanche Parkway would have to be shut down for about 3 months. 3 months is a long time for people that utilize that to go out to Highway 88 from that direction, which is a lot quicker. Is 3 months worth about $7-8 million to the county? I think it's $800,000 to the county. Right. I think it probably is, and to the taxpayers. So that I would say that's the direction we're going, and unless we hear vehement protests.
Do you have an idea of how much of a time delay that would give to people?
Time delay
for traffic?
From going out to 88 versus going all the way around, it's probably going to take you another 5 minutes.
Okay, five minutes.
Yeah, it's really not bad, because as you drive out Comanche Parkway going west towards 88, it's very windy in there, so you can't travel at a high rate of speed. Some people will be inconvenienced, though, I'm sure.
Okay.
Next up, we have discussion on the Clean Water Act, and this is new. These are new rules that have come out, proposed amendments to the Clean Water Act by the federal government, and all of these things that happen, the stormwater protection, new rules that came out from the state, costing our county about another $100,000 a year to implement those. And we're supposed to be exempted from those stormwater protection. If you're such a small county, they have waived that exemption and said everybody's in. Well, this one is the Clean Water Act, and changes that are going on there that are going to cost a lot more money for us to have to comply with the rules that they're adopting. And what's going on partly with the Clean Water Act is they're interpreting language differently than it's ever been interpreted before. And
right.
I can tell you, the National Association of Counties, the California State Association of Counties, all of government in the nation, predominantly all of government, is opposing these changes. And we have leaders in Washington that are just turning their backs to it.
Right. Of course, the big thing is a lot of people feel that the EPA is legislating, with the rulemaking, and there's no way for the public to influence it.
Well, the public will influence it because
but the people aren't voted for that are legislated. You
right.
understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So they're kind of hidden in the bureaucracy.
I can almost guarantee you that there will be influence here because the federal government will be sued over this. The Environmental Protection Agency will be sued over their interpretation, which is just the wrong thing to do. It's not correct, and the advocacy is not working, so it'll end up being a lawsuit, and it'll cost a lot of money. That's where we're at. Last thing up on the agenda, we have a community development block grant process, and Terry Cox will be in with Cox Consulting. She is just wonderful on explaining how these processes work with a community development block grant, and this has to do with also with an annual performance report that's due to the State Department of Housing and Community Development. So she will give that report and talk about some of the past programs. One of them is the county's housing stabilization and homeless prevention program. So she talks about fiscal year 13-14, 455 persons received housing stabilization services, 322 had homeless services, and 48 received assistance from Meals on Wheels. So this program is very beneficial. It's all lower income people that receive the benefits of it, and people that really need the help. I mean, our economy is still not getting that much better in our county and in a lot of counties throughout the state. I talk to supervisors sometimes, and they're in bigger counties, and it's the same thing. I mean, it's you can throw as much money at things as you want from the federal government and say it's getting better, but right now we're still in a mode where you see little pieces of our economy that are getting better in our county, but overall businesses say it's still pretty tough.
Right, it is pretty tough. And if we talk about the sand fire, if that would have affected the wineries, and if the wind conditions weren't right, that would have been a lot of revenue loss, potential revenue loss in that area that we're pretty heavily dependent. Seems like the tourism business and a restaurant business, people are still spending dollars there, but
I can tell you that the wineries are going to suffer just like the Amador County Fair did. I'm assuming that the numbers are going to go down from the fair just because when you have a catastrophe like that, people are going to listen to the warnings and they're going to stay away. The same thing applies to the wineries, and it'll have an economic impact at least for about a week there on the wineries.
Right, right, and should be everything back to normal this weekend.
Right.
Okay, let's talk about the fair a little bit more.
Well, lastly,
I'm sorry.
this grant performance, The one thing, there's another program, Income Reuse Fund for Housing Rehabilitation Programs. County had no program income reuse funds. So besides that report, we'll take input from people about other areas where these community development block grants may be needed. And then the application processes start to come together at that point.
That last, what you were talking about, what is that? Can you flesh it out a little bit?
The last one?
Yeah.
The program income reuse funds.
How does that income become reused?
I believe that these are programs that we may have had. There may have been some leftover money.
Okay.
So then that's where the reuse of those funds comes in.
Okay.
You still have to go through the application process. You still have to be approved. These are very tight programs. It's just like when the water agency applied for the project to replace hydrants upcountry.
Right.
You have to meet those tight income requirements. I can remember one time we applied down in Jackson Valley, and they just missed it the first time they applied. Second time out, they included a bigger area, and they were able to get the income requirements down. Now that, I believe, was for a USDA grant, but it's very similar to these community development block grants.
All right. A lot of dotting the i's and crossing the t's, and really looking at that takes you have to get that right, or it takes another year to reapply?
Yeah, and Water Agency, for instance, had to go out and do a survey to actually determine that the income level was low enough for them to qualify to get into these types of programs.
All right. Well, Richard, thanks for coming by, and if you're interested, go down to the Board of Supervisors. If you're interested and can't make it, it really is a nice thing that you have where you can go to their website and listen to the board meeting over the internet. So that's a good way to stay informed and hear what's going on right here in your county, your local area. I'm Thomas Slivick. Stay with us. There's more coming up on TSPN. Thanks again, Richard. You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.